There's a moment, right after the ferry engine cuts, when the silence hits you like a held breath. The dock is wooden, weathered, salt gray. The sea laps in slow, indifferent rhythm against the pylons. Somewhere overhead, a gull cuts through the haze and disappears. You look down. A cat is sitting on the dock watching you. Not startled. Not curious even. Just watching. The way something watches when it has been here far longer than you have, and it knows it. Then you see another one, behind a rusted piling. A third on the roof of a stone building. Two more asleep in the coil of an old fishing net. One stretched full length across the middle of the only road like it signed the deed. And slowly, with a strange dreamlike clarity, the truth assembles itself. You are not a visitor here. You are a guest. For most of its life, Aoshima was invisible. No hotels, no neon signs, no guided tours. Just a small fishing community perched on a few acres of Pacific rock. People who woke before dawn, worked the sea, and came home to the smell of salt and wood smoke. The cats came for practical reasons. The fishermen needed them. Mice were ruining the catch, gnawing through stored lines and food supplies. So they brought cats. Simple, old, useful logic. But then the decades turned, and something happened that is happening all across rural Japan, all across the quiet edges of the modern world. The young people left. They left for Tokyo, for Osaka, for cities that felt like futures instead of memories. Every year, the island grew a little quieter. Another household dark, another set of footsteps gone. But the cats didn't leave. The cats never left. They multiplied in the silences. The humans left behind, but in the empty. Rooms and overgrown paths and fishing boats no one took out anymore. They filled the absence the way nature fills every abandoned space. Completely. People who visit Aoshima struggle to describe it afterward. By the time not because it's indescribable, but because nothing in their regular lives gives them the right words. The streets are so quiet you can hear your own footsteps. The buildings have that particular shade of sun-faded, gray that only comes from decades, of sea wind and no one bothering to repaint. Time doesn't move differently here. It just moves more honestly. And everywhere, on every surface, in every shadow, along every sightline, cats. Sleeping in doorways, watching from rooftops. Weaving between your legs like they're threading a needle. Sitting alone on sea walls, staring at the horizon like small, unhurried philosophers. Some of them trot toward you like old friends. Others regard you with the cool, measured skepticism of beings who have seen many visitors come and go and formed no strong opinions about any of them. One reportedly sits at the end of the dock every evening and watches the sunset. Nobody taught him to do this. He just does. There's a word in Japanese, ma, for meaningful silence. For the space between things that is itself a kind of presence. Aoshima is made almost entirely of ma. Japan is a country in a slow, quiet vanishing. More than 10,000 villages are classified as marginal. Communities, places where so many residents have aged and left that the towns can no longer sustain themselves. Schools close, clinics close, the last grocery store locks its door, and the place that once held generations of lives, of love affairs and arguments and festivals and funerals, quietly stops being a place. Aoshima was on that trajectory. The same slow disappearance, the same math of attrition. And then the internet found it. A few photographs, the impossible ratio, the surreal beauty of all those cats and all that stillness. Within days, it had been shared millions of times. Travel blogs erupted. Photographers booked ferry tickets. Cat lovers put it on their bucket lists. A place the world had forgotten was suddenly unexpectedly seen. This is what the internet does occasionally. When it's at its most human, it makes something invisible into something beloved. It can't fix the population decline, or reverse the decades, or bring back the fishing boats, but it can make the world stop in 50 different languages and say, "This matters." Here is what I keep thinking about. Long after the ferry has left and the island has faded back into the gray, Pacific horizon. Nobody planned this. No government committee. No tourism board. No visionary founder with a 10-year strategy. Just fishermen and mice and cats, and then time. An absence, and the strange, unplanned grace of creatures who simply stayed. There's something almost unbearably moving about that. In a world that rewards scale and speed and noise and relentless optimization, a tiny forgotten island became one of the most beloved places on Earth. Because 100 cats decided to keep showing up for the sunrise. Maybe that's the whole lesson. Not the cats. Not even the island. The lesson is what happened after the silence. Because here's the thing. Nobody tells you about Aoshima. The cats didn't thrive because the world noticed them. The world noticed them because they thrived. They didn't perform for anyone. They didn't wait for permission. They simply lived, fully, quietly, completely, in the place they were given. And the world eventually couldn't look away. You have something like that in you, a place you've been tending quietly, a thing you keep doing even when no one's watching, a version of yourself that's been showing up unhurried, unglamorous, long before anyone arrived to applaud it. Don't abandon it. The ferry comes to Aoshima twice a day. Most tourists spend 2 hours, take their photos, and leave. The cats don't chase the boat. They don't scramble for one last glance. They go back to the dock, back to the seawall, back to watching the horizon. Be more like that. Do the thing. Keep doing the thing. Let the world find you when it's ready. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it right now. Someone grinding in silence. Someone who feels unseen. Someone who needs to be reminded that the most extraordinary places on Earth are usually the ones that simply refuse to disappear. Drop a comment. What's your Aoshima? The thing you keep showing up for. Even when no one's watching, Aoshima, still out there, still full of cats, still not asking for your approval.